Everyone talks about getting a visa, everyone talks about finding an accommodation, and everybody talks about packing. Don't get me wrong, these things really matter, they really do. But after living in the UK for the past few years, there's one thing that I've realized that these things are not the most important things that shape your experience. It's the things that nobody talks about. The little moments, the uncomfortable moments, the moments that quietly change who you become. And today, I just want to have an honest conversation with you about those things. Because if you're moving to the UK in 2026, I don't want you to arrive feeling surprised. Rather, I want you to arrive feeling prepared. A few years ago, I was exactly where you are, excited, nervous, watching every YouTube video I could find about studying in the UK. I wanted to know everything, like what to pack, which SIM card to buy, how I'd find a part-time job, how much money I'd need, and how I'd survive. And honestly, those videos did help me. But after actually living in the UK, I've realized there are so many things that nobody actually talked about. Things that completely changed me. Not as a student, but as a person. So this isn't another guide about visas or university rankings. Think of this as a conversation. Imagine we are sitting in a cafe together. Your flight is tomorrow and you have just asked me, Rahul, what is one thing that I should know before I move? And everything I'm about to tell you is exactly what I'd say. Moving abroad doesn't change where you live, it changes who you are. I don't think anyone prepared me for that. Back home, without even realizing it, your identity is connected to other people. You're someone's son, you're someone's daughter, someone's best friend, someone's cousin, someone's neighbor. People know you, they know your habits, they know your personality. Then one day, you land in a country where nobody knows your name, nobody knows your story, nobody knows who you were. And at first, that's scary. I remember thinking, everything feels so unfamiliar here. Even simple things like buying groceries, finding my classroom, using public transport, booking appointments, everything suddenly felt like a challenge. But something interesting happened. Every small problem that I solved made me a little more confident. Like the first time I cooked a proper meal, the first time I traveled alone, first time I dealt with paperwork, and the first time I figured something out without asking anyone for help. Those little moments changed me far more than any lecture ever did. And one day, without even noticing, you stop saying I don't know how and you start saying I'll figure it out. And honestly, that's one of the greatest gifts that studying abroad gives you. Not the degree, but the confidence. The real confidence. The kind you build yourself. And trust me, nobody can give it to you. You earn it. One small challenge at a time. So I would like to share an interesting story when I moved to the UK. Let me tell you, I had no idea how to cook, so be prepared. First 3 days of my life in the UK, I was surviving on the food that my mother had prepared for me, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I was going out, exploring the city. But after the third day ended, I was like, oh, I don't have enough food left now. So I had to start cooking. You can't just find Indian food everywhere, and when you're abroad, especially, it's very difficult to find the right places, the right restaurants, and you don't even know much about the city in the beginning. And unless you have already met a lot of people, which is highly unlikely because in the first 3 days, everybody is trying to settle in and, trying to find their own way. So for me, I genuinely did not even know how to chop an onion. So I had to FaceTime my mother. My mother, I'm so grateful to her. She was so patient with me. She taught me everything that I needed to know about like making even a basic aloo ka parantha or anything. Like genuinely, I did not even know how to boil an egg. And I had to FaceTime my friend who lived in Canada who taught me how to boil an egg. And I know it's an embarrassing story, but it's the truth. And after that, I think today I'm a chef. I cook. It's been more than 3 years that I've been cooking, and genuinely, I feel like I wouldn't have learned all these things if I hadn't moved abroad. Because back here, 3 years before, I never really went to the kitchen. I never really wanted to be in the kitchen. It was just never my interest. But when I went there, I think because being in the kitchen, after work, I would come home, I would cook. Not because I was hungry, just because it gave me a sense of freedom. Like I felt so free when I was in the kitchen, when I was chopping an onions. I know it's weird, but something really helped me when I was chopping every little thing. I was making paneer ka paratha, I was making all types of food, and all of a sudden I started enjoying it. And that's what, like, these little things are really matter. And I would genuinely not recommend to anybody who don't know how to cook to just wait for it and then you can survive and you will be able to make it yourself. Please don't do this. If I could go back in time, one thing I would do definitely is learn the basics. I would learn the basics of cooking because that's very important when you'll be moving abroad. I can only say one thing, that when you are actually moving, don't be afraid to approach. Don't wait for anybody to approach you. If you find someone you like, if you find someone that, okay, I want to strike up a conversation, please do that, because it could change your life. And especially when you're going as a student. Why? Because when you're going as a student, you're going for a purpose, and your purpose is to network. Your networking skills will later be so beneficial for you in life. And I genuinely mean that, because my networking skills have gotten much better than it was before, and now it's coming in handy. So yes, that's one of the things that I would genuinely recommend to anybody doing or moving abroad. First, learn the basics of cooking and be prepared to socialize. Can I tell you something that surprised me the most? It wasn't the weather, it wasn't the food, it wasn't even the university, but it was the people. Before moving to the UK, I had this idea in my head that I'd instantly find my group, the friends that I'd travel with, the friends that I'd celebrate my birthday with, and maybe even stay in touch for years. But real life doesn't really work like that. During the first few weeks, everyone is looking for friends, everyone's excited, and everyone says that we should definitely meet again soon. One thing I wish somebody had told me is this: don't rush to make friends. Make sure to take your time to finding the right people. There's a huge difference between the people that you spend time with and people who genuinely make your life better. And trust me, when you find those people, you'll know. Conversations feel effortless, and you don't have to pretend to be someone you are not, and you feel comfortable. So if you're watching this and you're worried about making friends, don't measure your success by how many friends you have, but measure it by how comfortable you feel by being yourself. Sometimes one genuine friend is worth more than 20 people you know. Now this is something I see all the time, and if I can help even one person with it, I'll be happy. A lot of students arrive in the UK with only one goal: find a part-time job. And I completely understand why. Living abroad is expensive. Rent isn't cheap. Groceries add up. You want to support yourself. And there's nothing wrong with working. I worked too. But here's what people make a mistake at. They let work become their entire university experience. Monday, work. Tuesday, work. Weekend, work all over again. Before they know it, months have gone by. They have barely explored the city they are in. They have never taken a weekend trip. They have skipped university events, and they did not get the opportunity to make meaningful friendships. And after graduation, the money is gone, but so are the memories that they never made. I'm not saying don't work. I'm saying don't forget why you came. Yes, earn money, but also don't forget to create memories. Go on that day trip. Watch a football match, visit another city, and please say yes when someone invites you for a cup of coffee. Years later, you'll remember those small moments later in life. You'll remember those moments far more than one extra shift. And a quick side note, if you haven't sorted your accommodation yet, I have partnered with Amber Students Accommodation. It's a platform that helps students verify or compare verified student accommodations across the UK, US, Canada, Australia. So it can save you a lot of time when you're planning your move. And if you want to check it out, I have left my link in the description below. Now let's get back to the video. I first did my part-time job at JD Sports in Oxford. A reminder that my rent and my university fees was already paid for. With that money, I was able to afford to go on a day trips that universities would organize. I've been to Isle of Wight. I've been to so many countries whilst I was doing part-time job and I was a student at the university. So for me, I would always suggest everybody make sure to have fun, work hard, take those day trips like I mentioned before, because those trips will always be the things that you will always talk about later in your life. Because when you are a student living abroad, being by yourself, taking those day trips, maybe even a couple day trips, it's the best feeling in the world, and I highly recommend it. We talk about something that every Indian does. The moment you land in the UK, every single price gets converted into rupees. Coffee, oh, that's around 400 rupees. A jacket, no chance. And I did exactly the same for weeks and maybe even months. Then something interesting happened. With time, I slowly stopped converting everything into rupees. Not because I forgot the exchange rate, but because I started living there. My salary was in pounds. The rent is usually in pounds. My groceries were in pounds. Eventually, I stopped asking, how much is this in India? And I started asking, is this worth my time? And even today, back in India, I don't just look at the price of something. I think about the effort behind earning it. And honestly, that's one of the biggest lessons that living abroad taught me. Not financial advice, just perspective. So I remember the time when I was not actually doing my part time job, and within the first month, when I actually went out for a cup of coffee by myself, I would think to myself, man, this is actually expensive. I might not do it again until unless I find a part time job, because £4, basically 450 rupees, and I was like, damn, that's a lot. But later in life, you realize these things were just normal, and you were experiencing something new, and it's okay to be able to spend a little bit on something that makes you happy. And later, when I started earning in pounds, life became normal, and I started doing everything normally, because I just did not want to spend more, like buy expensive jacket and then start converting that money in rupees, and I'll be like, man, this is expensive. I did not want to do that, so I was like, let's live normally. Let's start doing things that people who actually live here do. Eventually, one day I stopped converting, and I feel like that was the best part, because then later on, when I bought my first jacket, and even the train tickets, the groceries, everything, they started to seem very normal, because groceries in the UK, especially in Oxford, are like quite expensive, even for people who actually earn there. More you start doing something, the more you get in the habit of doing that, and it starts to feel normal. And if you get into that place one day, if you are in the UK, just remind yourself that this will pass too. Can I be honest with you? There's going to be a day, not your first day, not your first week, maybe your second week, or maybe your first month. You'll come back to your room after classes, you'll put your bag down, you'll sit on your bed, and suddenly it will hit you that you really miss home. Not because the UK is a bad place or that you have made the wrong decision, simply because home is home. You'll miss hearing your parents talk in the next room, or you'll miss your mom asking you, have you eaten? You'll really miss those random conversations that happened normally, but they just all of a sudden disappeared. You'll miss birthdays, festivals, family dinners, even the noise outside your home. It's really strange, because nobody tells you before you leave, because everyone prepares you for the flight, but nobody prepares you for the silence. And if that day ever comes, please don't think that something is wrong with you. Almost every international student goes through this, including me. And I promise that it gets better. Not because you stop missing home, but because you slowly start creating another one. I'd like to share a story with you guys that I haven't really shared with most people. To give you context, I started my master's in January 2023, and it was a 1 year course. And by 2023 December, I was preparing to submit my final draft, and I remember I was in the university at 11 p.m. working on my dissertation and everything, and all of a sudden I had a major breakdown, and I called my mother. I tried to talk to her, and she tried to calm me down too. But there are moments when you really need somebody next to you, and that's why sometimes I feel like studying abroad is kind of difficult, because you don't have your family with you. So I was lucky enough, I had a couple of friends who are like family to me. I called them, and luckily they were also in the university at the same time, but just in different rooms. They came running downstairs, they heard me out, they heard what I felt, They were mature enough to handle me at that moment. I feel like I'm so grateful for them. They helped me calm down, and I still feel so close to them because of that moment, because that was a life changing moment for me. I'm not somebody who usually gets a lot of panic attacks or anxious attacks, and it's normal if you get them. But if you do get them, I generally feel like it's always helpful to reach out. For me, it helped. I reached out, and I, to this day, I'm so grateful that I did. And if I ever could go back in time, I would stop putting too much pressure on myself just to complete my dissertation. Because when you're doing anything abroad, when you're working hard, when you're traveling, when you're doing so much, life will sometimes feel uneasy. It might become a little bit heavy. Let's say today you are traveling, and then you're working on your dissertation, and all of a sudden one day comes and you are resting. Something in your head will click, and you'll be like, am I doing something wrong? Trust me, you're not. You need that break, because when you do a lot of things all together, it all piles up, and then when you don't one day, it feels heavy and it feels like you're missing out on something. But I still remember that day when I reached out to my friends. They came downstairs, they told me, Rahul, it's okay to feel this way. And I told them that I want to fly back home. And I remember one of them telling me that, Rahul, you have worked so hard this whole year. You're just 1 month away from submitting your final draft, and you want to go back home. That moment, something pinched in me. I realized that my friend was right. I have done so much hard work all this way for 11 months, and maybe one more month would not hurt me. So I went home, I slept on it, and the next morning I was all okay. So the point is, if you ever feel this way when you are in the university, please reach out to anybody, to your family, to your friends, because it really helps. Don't think, okay, I'll handle this myself. It's good that if you can, but if it gets too much, your friends will always be there for you, your family will always be there for you. And I know that every university provides mental health support. So no judgments, just go there, be yourself, and reach out. But here's the beautiful part. One day, without even realizing it, the city that once felt unfamiliar starts feeling normal. You stop checking Google Maps every 5 minutes, and you know which supermarket has the cheapest groceries. You know your favorite cafe, and you know which train platform you need to stand on. And you even start giving directions to strangers. And that's when it hits you that you're no longer surviving, you are living. It's such a small moment, but it's really a special one, because you realize that this place that once scared you now feels like home. I remember I was at a cafe in Oxford Westgate. It was called Maya's, and I used to go to that cafe since the beginning of my journey in the UK. And I really liked it. I used to go there, read a book or something. And few months passed by. I was doing the same thing. I was in Maya's reading a book by the window, and all of a sudden a couple of my friends, they saw me and they came in and they greeted me. And at that moment something hit me, and I was like, Oxford is not a different place anymore. It's my home now. A place where when I came in as a stranger, I wouldn't have anybody to say hello to, ask them how are they doing, it's been so long. But that day when the two of them came in, I felt at home. I realized that I'm not alone anymore, and that really made a big difference. So these small things, they really do make a difference, and sometimes it helps you grow in so many different ways that you don't even realize. When you get that confidence of being, okay, I am not alone. I don't have to do everything by myself. Yes, I'm enjoying it, but I have people here now. So when you change your mindset, everything changes. Here's something I never expected. Living in another country didn't make me love India less. It actually made me appreciate it more. Because before moving abroad, there are so many things that we take for granted, like family, festivals, street food, being able to speak your own language everywhere, even something as simple as walking into a restaurant and understanding the menu instantly. When you have lived away from all of that, you realize how special those things really are. And at the same time, living in the UK taught me things that I wish that all of us really do get to experience that at least once in our lives, like being independent, respecting other people's personal space, planning ahead, and even queuing patiently, taking responsibility for your own life. So, whenever people ask me, Rahul, which country is better? I honestly don't have an accurate answer because I feel like that's not the right question anymore. India gave me my root, but UK helped me grow, and I'm genuinely grateful for both. Do you know what surprised me the most? It wasn't London, it wasn't the university, it wasn't the weather, but it was me. Because one day, without even noticing, the things that once terrified me became completely normal. Booking flights, traveling alone, job interviews, talking to strangers, living with people from different countries, cooking, paying bills, making difficult decisions. And at some point, you stop thinking, can I do this? And you start thinking, what's next? And that's confidence right there. Not the loud kind, but the quiet kind. And honestly, that confidence is worth so much more than the degree on your wall. Sometimes I wonder if I could go back in time and have a conversation with the version of me that was about to board that flight. What would I actually say? Would I tell him to pack more clothes? I don't think so. Would I tell him to pack more spices? Maybe. But honestly, none of those things would even make my list. I'd probably just look at him and say, "You're going to be okay." There will be difficult days. You'll definitely miss home. You'll make mistakes. You'll miss trains. You'll burn a few meals. But one day, without even realizing it, you'll look back and you'll smile. Every difficult moment will have taught you something, and every challenge will have quietly made you stronger. Before I moved abroad, I thought studying in the UK would change my life. Now I think that's only half true. UK didn't change my life. It gave me opportunities. It gave me challenges. It gave me experiences. But the person who changed my life was me. Every decision I made, every uncomfortable situation that I walked through, every conversation, every mistake, every lesson, that's what changed me. If you're waiting for another country to magically transform your life, it won't. But if you're willing to grow, to be uncomfortable, to learn, to fail sometimes, then studying abroad can become one of the best experiences you'll ever have. Not because of the country, but because of the person that you'll become. I want to leave you with one thought. Please don't move abroad because you're trying to escape your life. Move abroad because you're ready to build a new one. Say yes to every new experience. Travel when you can. Work really hard, but please don't let work become your whole story. And call your parents more than you think you really need to. And take so many photos, not for Instagram, but for yourself. Few years from now, those photos will remind you just how far you have come. And finally, don't spend your entire journey worrying about what's next. Sometimes the best thing that you can do is just enjoy where you simply are. When I boarded my flight to the UK, I never imagined that journey would lead me to working in luxury retail, meeting some of the best people from all over the world, and now sitting here making videos to help someone like you. If you have made it this far, I just want to say thank you. It genuinely means a lot to me. I started this channel because when I was preparing to move to the UK, I wish there was someone who talked about the things that we have discussed today. Not just visas and rankings, but the real experience. So if this video really connected with you, I'd love for you to join this little community that we are building. So hit the subscribe button below, leave a comment below and tell me which university or city that you are traveling to. I read every single comment, and if you have got a question, please feel free to ask me, and I'll see you in the next one.